Welcome everyone to APH's virtual camp. This is the Great STEM Campout for kindergarten through third grade. It's okay if that's not how old you are. You are welcome anyway, but that's about the speed we're going, meant for our kindergarten through third graders. We're glad to have you hop in and join us today. This is day 3. So we have our same people joining us, your same camp rangers. You've got Ranger Annie and Ranger Carrie ready to jump in and give you some more about STEM camping. Take it away, Rangers.
I hear thunder, hark, don't you? Pitter patter raindrops, I'm wet through, and so are you. Oh, hey there! I was just chilling under my umbrella and singing about the rain while I wait out these raindrops. Whew, I think I see some sunshine. I want to show you who I brought with me today. This is Ranger Annie, if you'll remember from day 1 and day 2. And if you are just joining us today, that's fine too. We have lots of learning to do together about camping. I've brought Sniffy, my loyal rabbit. He's here to learn about camping with me today. I hope you brought someone who can join you on this camp out. And if you didn't, that's fine. You might have a parent with you, or you might be viewing this as a recording, and you're still welcome. All right, let's move on to a fun question to get our camping started today. Let's get our chat box ready to answer this one. Put your thinking cap on with me. Would you rather see a bear or a skunk outside your tent? Again, would you rather see a bear or a skunk outside your tent? Bear starts with B, so you can put a B for bear. A skunk starts with S, so you can put an S for skunk. Which one would you rather see outside your tent? I see that Mila has started off with our answering. She'd rather see a skunk. I'm with you, Mila. I'd even rather be sprayed by a skunk than see a bear. Lucas is with us. He says he'd rather see a skunk. If you're watching this as a recording, would you rather see a skunk or a bear? Cadence is going to brave it out. She'd rather see a bear. You are brave, Cadence. Mike is saying skunk. We have 3 skunk answers and 1 bear. Let's give it about 10 more seconds, see what our answers are. Aaron says bear. All right, and that concludes our fun question for the day. Let's move on with some flip grids. Ranger Carrie, will you take it away and show us our flip grids?
Sure. Hello, campers. Ranger Carrie here again. To refresh your memory, I have dark brown hair. It's almost black, and dark brown eyes. And I also have a special little buddy with me. This is a little baby deer. I am not very talented, so I'm not going to be able to hold her the whole time, but she's going to sit right beside me and be my helper today. And you know what? Deer are very common in many campsites. Some of you may even see them around your neighborhood or in your backyard or when you're driving. Hopefully nobody's ever ran over one or hit one, because they can do a lot of damage. So once again, we love seeing your videos on Flipgrid. We're going to show you a clip from Addie's packing video. She did amazing. Aaron, you also did a great job. If you weren't able to upload a video, that is perfectly okay. We hope you had a great time packing, and maybe you felt a little more grown up being able to pack your own suitcase. So give me just 1 second, and we're going to watch a very short clip from Addie.
There's what happens when we put the toothbrush container together. Open, close.
Open,
Yeah.
close.
Good job. That's right. Good work.
Great job, Addie. So in the video, Addie had a suitcase in front of her on the table, and it looked like she already had her suitcase, majority of it packed, which is awesome. And she had one of her teachers behind her helping her open and close the toothbrush holder. Awesome, awesome job, Addie. We are very proud of your video. All right, guys. Are we ready? We are going to play another little game. So I'm going to want you guys to use the chat box again. If I am going too fast, just you can write stop. You can type anything but a Y or an N, and that'll indicate to me that I'm going too fast. These are just some questions that I'm going to ask you. Some of them may not be a question. Some of them may be just a sentence, but there's not a right or wrong answer. If you knew this already, I want you to type a Y for yes. If you did not know this and you are learning it today with us, I want you to type a no. And again, there is not a right or wrong. This is just a fun way to give you guys some more information. If you're watching this on the recording, I want you to participate too. Just after I say it, think to yourself, did I know that? If you did, you can say yes. If you didn't, you can say no. All right, here we go. Camping is a leisure activity, and recreation and leisure is part of the ECC. If you already knew that, type a Y. If that is new to you, type an N. Luca knew that. Aaron and Mila, great. That's great that you're learning something. I'm sorry, that was Lucas, not Luca. Okay, here's our second one. Shelter is a need for humans to protect us from the weather and nature. Some people sleep in a camper van or a trailer or a tent or in open air in good weather. Type a yes if you already knew that, and a no if that is something that you just learned. And I'm going to tell you, it is another hot day in Kentucky. There is no way people could be sleeping outside in tents during this hot weather that we are currently having. Ranger Annie, they're doing awesome. I think a lot of them have heard of this before, so that's great.
Yes, looks like Mila, Aaron, and Lucas all said that they knew that about camping.
All right. When camping, people usually prepare food to eat that is easy to make, such as peanut butter and jelly. If they were hunting or fishing, they may cook the animal or fish they caught over a campfire. I would have a hard time with that because I do not care for fish. If you already knew that you could do that, type a Y. And if that is new, type an N. We have some smart campers with us today.
Yes, looks like Lucas and Aaron have said yes, that they knew that you could cook the animals that you hunt. Or people eat peanut butter and jelly. Easy meal.
That would be more my speed of things.
Mine too.
Dangers can arise, such as wild animals or illness from drinking unclean water. Type a Y if you knew that, or an N if that's new to you.
Looks like Cadence has maybe raised her hand. Cadence, if you have a question, something that is stopping you from answering these, can you put a Y in the chat box? If your question can wait, can you put an N?
All right, Ranger Annie, stop me. Oh,
Okay, Cadence. Go ahead and turn on your microphone. Tell us how we can help you.
Excuse me, I didn't know what the question was again.
I'm sorry, we can't hear you. Say it one more time.
I didn't know what the question was.
oh, do you want me to
Oh,
repeat
okay.
that one?
Yes, please.
Okay, no
that would be great.
problem. You know what, Cadence, you did an awesome job of using one of your ECC skills of advocating for yourself by asking for help when you need it. That is awesome. We are so proud of you. So that
Awesome.
question was, or statement, dangers can arise, such as wild animals or illness from drinking unclean water. Type a Y, Cadence, if you have heard of that, or an N if that's new to you. All right. The typical tent camping site is big enough for a vehicle. So that would mean a car, a truck, maybe an SUV, a tent, a table, and a grill or fire pit. That's quite a few things that you could bring and fit in your camping area. If you knew that, type a Y. If not, type an N. I feel like you guys are some experienced campers. Okay. We have two more. There is no refrigeration when camping without electricity. Coolers have to be used to keep food cool or it will spoil. You need a layer of ice on the bottom and a layer of ice on the top. Meat should be stored separately from other food items like drinks to make sure there is no cross-contamination. This part would be kind of hard for me too. Definitely requires a lot of thinking. So if you knew that you had to pack a cooler to keep your food cold, press a Y. If not, if this is new to you, type an N. Oh, this next one is one that I don't even like to read about, but I'm going to read it to you guys. So listen carefully. Wild animals can get into your food, so it is best to put it in your car or keep it in a sealed tight container. I'm pretty sure if I went camping, I may make a mistake of leaving food out. And if I woke up to some kind of wild animal in my food, I would panic. Both cars and containers can get really hot in the heat, so coolers need to be consistently iced down, which means you would have to replace your ice. If you don't take your garbage to the dumpster or burn it, animals may show up and eat it too. Put a Y if you knew those things, and not a Y, yes, a Y if you knew those things, and then an N if that was new to you. I wouldn't care to see the animals from a distance, but I don't want them really close to me. All right, guys, we just made your little fingers work pretty hard because we asked you a lot of questions, but you know what? We knew that you could do it. So I want everybody to take their hands and just stretch out your fingers once you're done typing your answer. If you need to roll your hands around, go ahead and do that. Okay, now this is just something for you to think about. I don't need you to type anything at all. I just want you to think about this. Would you have a cooler to bring your favorite foods, or would you be better off with beef jerky and peanut butter sandwiches? Just want you to think about that. We might revisit that in a little bit, but think about if you could handle bringing a cooler, or could you just live on peanut butter and beef jerky? All right, Ranger Annie, it is your turn. Take it away and talk to us about all the shelters and options for bringing and storing our food.
Okay, so we started with all this information that we may have known or we may not have known about camping, and that's to bring us to our objective or what we need to do today. So campers, say this along with me. I can compare and contrast shelter and food storage options while camping. Ranger Carrie is going to put these words on the screen. First thing we're going to do is look at different types of places to stay at while camping and different ways to stay outside. And we're going to look at different things you can eat. Okay, so we talked about lots of things you would have to bring if you're wanting your favorite foods that you normally have in a refrigerator, or there's other options. Your job today is to rate which experience you hear that is more suitable for your needs and preferences. So we've been talking about things you like and you don't like, and that is getting to know yourself and applying it to camping. So I want you to be thinking today about how the experiences are different from each other whenever I read our stories. And I want you to be thinking, which one sounds like a good option to me? Which one do I prefer? And knowing these likes and dislikes is part of that ECC. Clap it out. ECC. Remember, that's a curriculum for you as a learner with a visual impairment that has a checklist of skills that we need to know that help us in our everyday life. So today we're talking about shelter or a place to stay and food. Those are two very important skills. Let's start with Zeke. Zeke has a story to tell us about the Grand Canyon glamping. So today, campers, has a funny title. It's called Glamping versus Camping. So glamping is more of the luxurious way to camp. So it's really staying in a building or some kind of vehicle that offers like what a building would offer to us as an option versus staying outside and having to build a tent. So let's hear about Zeke's glamping experience in the Grand Canyon. It comes with a cost. I want you to think about it whenever you listen to the details. Zeke and his family are going to stay at the Grand Canyon. He cannot wait. He packed his suitcase with sunscreen, pajamas for night, shorts, a ball cap hat, t-shirts, tennis shoes for walking, and a couple pants in case the evenings are cooler. He and his family are flying to Arizona. His bag has to fit in the carry-on stowaway above his seat on the airplane. So that's like a little cabinet above your head whenever you're sitting on an airplane. I don't know if you've been on an airplane before, and you have to be able to put your luggage in there. It has to fit so it can stay secured and not fall out. It's very small. He chose a backpack that rolls because he has to roll it through the airport. His mom reminded him not to forget his toothbrush, hairbrush, and deodorant. His parents booked a 4-night stay at the Thunderbird Lodge because the rooms have canyon views. But Dad said the rooms cost around $300 a night. Oh, there's a price with glamping. On the days they are not seeing the canyon, they are planning to walk the historic village streets. Thunderbird Lodge is walking distance to restaurants, gift shops, Kolb Studio, Verkamp's Visitor Center, and Bright Angel Trailhead. The lodge has a restaurant, but there are plenty of food trucks for food on the go as they explore. So be thinking, does this sound like an experience you would enjoy?
Ranger Annie, so are you saying that they are not going to have to bring any food with them? They're going to get to go out to eat?
They're going to pay for food. They can use food trucks or they can eat at a restaurant. Mom and Dad said Zeke and his sister need to decide on an excursion or an adventure. Their choices are a train ride or a mule ride. A mule is an animal. One day will be designated for hiking part of the Rim Trail, which can be walked up to 12.8 miles. They will walk as much as they feel comfortable and head back, but the park has an advisory that temperatures have reached 103 degrees this June. He brought a roller tip for his cane. He usually uses 2-point touch, but constant contact will help him feel more at ease with the different leveled terrains. If there are too many uneven surfaces from branches and rocks, or no grass line to come back to so he doesn't veer, Mom can guide him as a human guide by staying one step ahead of him as he holds her elbow.
Can we take a moment and see if any of our campers want to share one thing that they have heard so far that would make them want to go on this trip? If you would like to share, this is completely optional, but if you would like to share, raise your hand and we will give you permission to talk. Oh, it looks like Erin's ready.
Okay, Erin, what do you think?
I think the part that makes me want to go on the trip is the part where you said he'll eat at a restaurant.
Great job listening to the story and applying it to your likes and dislikes. So you like eating at restaurants.
Erin, I agree with you completely. That is why I love to go glamping versus camping. Oh, it looks like Lucas said all of glamping sounds fun.
I agree, Lucas.
Mila has her hand raised.
Okay,
would you
Mila.
like to share?
Because staying in a hotel is fun.
I agree, Mila. I like to stay in a hotel. That has a comfy bed option too.
Ranger Annie, I am so proud of our campers for listening. That was a lot of information.
And they're really applying it to themselves.
Yes, you know what they're doing? They're using their listening skills, which is also a big skill that we work on. Campers, take a second and give yourself a big pat on the back.
Pat on the back for good work.
All right, Ranger Annie, tell us some more.
Okay, so back to those temperatures of 103 degrees. They might go hiking, but they may just stay in the village depending on what they're feeling that day. He will still carry his cane with a pencil grip on the other side of his body for a little coverage. He has some remaining vision and made sure to pack sunglasses and a hat to help with the bright sunlight. So now we've heard it, campers. We've heard it from Zeke about glamping at the Grand Canyon. Here comes Macy. She's camping at the Grand Canyon. Let's hear about her story of roughing it out in the wild. Stretch big and tall, get your ears ready to hear about Macy. Remember, we're going to compare this glamping to camping. And a lot of you have caught on that glamping was staying in a hotel and eating at restaurants while still enjoying what the outdoors had to offer. Macy's family of 5 are going camping at the Grand Canyon. They have waited for the fall to come because the Arizona summer heat got to 103 degrees in the campground or in the desert this year. So remember, the Grand Canyon is in the desert. October bookings had options to camp at the Mather Campground for $18 a night for a group up to 6 people. I hear a big difference between $300 at the lodge and $18 to make your bed in the wild. This was going to be so different from her normal stay at a hotel. Instead of a mini fridge, there is a campfire ring with a cooking grate and a picnic table. Her family will need to bring 2 vehicles, Mom's van and Dad's car, to haul their food, toiletries, clothes, and 3 tents. Luckily, there are flush toilets. Some people have to pee out in the open outdoors because there's not toilets. But she has access to toilets at this campground. There are also showers. Some people do not get a shower while they're camping, but there are showers at this campground. And drinking water throughout the campground. Macy isn't used to packing like this. She will bring her cell phone to take pictures and enlarge them to help her see the signs and map for the camping ground. But she knows there's no cell phone reception or internet. Macy also plans to bring her binocular to help her see the stars at night, deep canyon, signs along the trails, and wild animals like elk, deer, ravens, ground squirrels, and even mountain lions.
Ranger
Mom?
Annie,
Oh, yes.
if she is using a binocular, does that fit somewhere in the ECC?
Yes, it sure will, because it is a compensatory access skill. That means that she is using exactly what she needs to access her environment. So whether you're in the classroom and you have to use supplies, or you're not in the classroom and you're even somewhere that's outside, you may have to use something specific to help you with a visual impairment.
And I guarantee so many of our campers right now are using assistive technology while they're watching us. Even those of you that are at home, you may be using a special device, and that is awesome.
Absolutely. And part of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Mom suggested the family bring battery-operated walkie-talkies so they can talk to each other through radio frequencies. They have to bring lots of batteries to this camp because they need flashlights at night and personal fans around their neck in the hot desert heat. Some of the other items besides the usual clothes and toothbrush include trash bags, a big plastic container with wheels to keep food protected from the animals, a tarp to put under the sleeping bags, towels, sun hats, sunscreen, bug spray, and hiking shoes. They have to pack their own food that doesn't need a refrigerator. The menu includes hot dogs, that will need ice in a cooler, s'mores, bananas, applesauce, granola bars, peanut butter, jelly, bread, canned soup, and ramen noodles. They'll need drinking cups and some Gatorade. Peanut butter and jelly will be the most of the meals she and her family eat because everything else has to be heated over a fire from the campsite grill. The campsite sells firewood for this. They will also need to buy ice for their cooler if they want their Gatorade cold. All right, let's pause here, campers, and really consider. Would you rather glamp at the lodge like Zeke or camp on the grounds like Macy?
Can
So
we I'm sorry.
for now, we are going to use our chat box to answer this question. But then we're going to hear another camping experience from Yellowstone, and I will give you a moment to use your microphone to answer that question. So for now, let's use our chat box. Would you rather glamp at the lodge like Zeke? Glamp starts with a G. Or would you rather camp on the grounds like Macy? Camp starts with a C. G for glamp or C for camp. Make your decision. Robin said she'd rather glamp. I agree, Robin. Yanni's gonna brave it out and camp. Lucas would rather glamp. Caleb would rather glamp. Ranger Carrie would rather glamp. I don't find that surprising from Ranger Carrie's preferences throughout camp, and that's what we're all coming together to develop. Aaron would rather glamp. Now, although I agree with a lot of you about glamping sounding a lot of fun, I think because it's the Grand Canyon, I'd rather camp because it would be an experience I've never had before.
I think I would come on the night that you were making s'mores because that is my absolute favorite thing to make.
So there's some pros and cons to both campers. All right. Hildegard would rather camp or glamp. I'm sorry, Hildegard, you'd rather glamp. So we are really developing our self-determination and how comfortable we feel with preparing for a camping trip. Notice that one family could just fly and the other family had to bring 2 cars in order to even just hold all of their supplies they needed. All right, campers, let's move on to Yellowstone. So Taylor and her family are going camping at Yellowstone, not glamping. Another option for glamping would be if they had a camper, but that can be a $40,000+ vehicle to get a camper, and that may even be the price of a used camper. All right. Taylor and her family are going camping at Grant Campground. This is a village high in the mountains, about 7,800 feet high to be clear. Raise your hands and tell me, whoa, that's high in the mountains. They chose this campground because it is one of the larger campgrounds, and you can get to Yellowstone Lake. Ooh, there's a perk to camping outside. There's a lake. Her mom needs to bring a wheelchair. She can walk, but the wheelchair at times is needed for extra support when her leg is really bothering her. This campsite is wheelchair accessible, so that was important for her family to know. They had to look that up. Nearby, there are stores, a restaurant. Oh, did you hear that? There's a restaurant near this camping site. So a restaurant might be an option when you're camping too. A gas station, a visitor center, and a boat ramp. Dad is bringing the boat hooked onto his truck. Their clothes and blankets take up a lot of space in the bed of Dad's truck because they had to bring a mix of clothes for warm weather and really warm clothes for nighttime weather almost like they are sleeping where it snows. Lots of socks needed. They will use heavy blankets too. They brought many tarps to help keep their tents dry because Yellowstone can really storm. Although they will have access to do laundry, there are no showers this weekend. They brought cleansing wipes to help freshen up after the daily events. They still brought body wash to use for the sinks at the toilets, mouthwash, a toothbrush, toothpaste, washcloths, towels, hand sanitizer, and toilet paper. They brought 2 coolers. One has water and stuff that doesn't need to be refrigerated, like bread, oatmeal packets, granola bars, peanut butter, beef jerky, trail mix, chips, and fruit. The other cooler has to stay iced down because it has meat for hot dogs and burgers. They will buy ice at the campsite. They have food storage lockers available at the campsite to keep their food safe from animals. They will have to cook over a fire. Mom and Dad brought sticks to roast the hot dogs with and foil to wrap and cook the burgers in. The campsite sells firewood. All trash has to go daily to the dump station so no wild animals get in it. They all brought their cell phones and solar-powered chargers to make sure they stay fully charged because the campsite has cell phone reception. One of the most exciting things to Taylor is that the campsite has an amphitheater. They are going to use ranger guidance to find out which geysers they may be able to watch erupt with hot water spewing from below the surface of the water, like a fountain. Okay, campers, you've heard many stories today about camping, and then you heard one story about glamping. I want you to still think about your opinion because this camping experience at Yellowstone was very different from the camping experience at Grand Canyon. Would you rather glamp or would you rather camp? Now is a time you can raise your hand and use your microphone to answer my question. If you don't want to share on your microphone, you may still use the chat box. All right, Aaron, let's hear it from you.
I would rather camp.
You would rather camp. Okay, I like that. Now, at first, did you say glamp or have you always wanted to camp?
Well, like I just stick with one, even though I would like to like both.
I like that. So you considered which one would give you more of a camping experience, and you finally decided I'll go camping, even though glamping does sound nice too. It's nice to know your opinions all across the board. Okay, yeah. Lucas. Oh, not Lucas, sorry. Whose hand?
I believe it was Hildegard. Next.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Hildegard, we are ready to hear from you.
Mute. There we go. Okay, now talk.
I would grab with a bed.
You would like to, did you say camp or glamp?
Glamp with a bed.
Glamp
With the
with
bed.
a bed. You want to make sure you get your rest. And we're going to talk about how important rest is tomorrow. So that is a great thing to consider on your trip. Will I be able to even function outside if I have to sleep outside? I like how you made that your decision.
Now she'll feel like she participated.
I think Mila, but I'm not sure if she was the next one.
I don't really want a separate point for all that.
Mila, would you like to share with us on your microphone? Or if not, you can just put it in the chat, which I do see your comment in the chat.
Yes.
Oh, okay, there you are.
Glamping. I would rather go glamping.
You would rather go glamping? Do you have a reason that makes you want to go glamping?
It's because it's much comfy sleeping in a bed.
So you and Hildegard have the same opinion there. You need your rest. So you'd rather go glamping and be able to sleep in a bed, but you can still enjoy the campsite with all the options of things to do outside after you get your beauty rest. That's what people call a good night's sleep. All right. Any other hands? Let's see. Bear with me as I use technology. I'm practicing that this week with you.
I think Cadence is the last one with her hand up.
We will hear from Cadence and then we will move on. Cadence, would you rather glamp or camp?
I would rather glamp because I like to rest in the bed.
Okay, so we have some strong opinions about being able to get that beauty rest in that bed and being able to do that through glamping, but still enjoy the outdoor adventures of camping. All right, Ranger Carrie, help us wrap up today.
All right, I do have one more question. I am just really curious now that you guys have answered what your preference is. I want to know if anybody has actually went camping and slept in a tent. It doesn't have to be a campground. Maybe you went camping in your backyard and you slept in a tent. Can you guys use the chat box? And if you've slept in a tent before, can you type a Y? And if you haven't slept in the tent before, can you type an N?
Thank you, Aaron, for responding with a Y. And Lucas with a Y. Yanni has said, no, I have not had the chance. Mila has not had the chance, but she has stayed at a cabin.
Ranger Annie has slept in a tent. Cadence has. Hildegard has not. Mike says he stayed in a tent inside the house. That's fun too. A lot of people do that. So you camped indoors in your own house.
And that's a good way to learn to set up a tent and get used to staying in a tent to see if you would brave it to go outside.
All right. So today we talked about different kinds of shelters that included tents, campers, hotels for glamping, and we also talked about what we could eat while we're camping. Now, today while you're eating lunch or dinner, I want you to think about whether this could be a meal you could prepare while camping. And I'll give you an example. I already know tonight I am going to grill out hamburgers and hot dogs for dinner. That could definitely be a meal that I could make when I'm camping. Maybe you guys are going to have spaghetti or tacos or something totally different. Just think about it when you're eating. Are these foods that I could bring with me and we could prepare while we're camping? That's a good conversation to have with your parents or the adults that you live with. If you're watching this as a recording, I challenge you guys to do the same thing. Think about what you're eating and could you prepare that while you're camping? All right, guys, before I explain our extension activity, I want to have you guys do the self-evaluation again. If you've noticed, we've done this every day. This is great feedback for Ranger Annie and myself. We love to see how you guys are feeling about the topics that we covered each day. So Ranger Annie, if you don't care to share the slide.
I don't mind at all. We're going to go to our rating scale. Did I get it today? And here we go.
Okay. So if you are watching this as a recording, we still want you to do this as well. Those of you that are watching live with us, go ahead and utilize the chat box. If you totally got what we discussed today and you could teach it to others, or maybe you could even retell some of the stories and explain why you chose what you did, drop a 3 in the chat box. If you still need a little more practice and you're not really sure exactly the difference between camping and glamping, maybe you want to put a 2 in the chat box. If you're totally lost and you didn't understand anything today, put a 1 in the chat box. All right, Ranger Annie, are we seeing some answers come through?
Yes, looks like we have some 3s, which we like to see. But if you have some 2s and 1s, go ahead and share those too. I think, okay, here we have a 2, which is great because we have some more learning to do this week. Another 2. So we're really doing some great learning together. Okay, Ranger Carrie, looks like our answers are in.
All right. If you don't care to go ahead and stop sharing for a moment, please.
Okay.
All right, guys. You know, this is one of my favorite parts, is to get to share with you what we're going to do for our extension activity. Now, I want you guys to think about the whole topic of this camp. We've been saying that it's STEM. So we've covered science, technology, engineering, and math. Today, you guys get to be little engineers. Basically, what that means is you're going to get to build something. Now, we do not have a video as an example today, and I'll tell you why. I thought about putting one in there, but when I'm challenging you guys to build, I want to see what your own brain can come up with. Sometimes when we give you too many examples, your brain doesn't do thinking for itself, but you can still hear about the descriptions and then you can decide how you want to do this. Now, you're going to build a tent today. If you received the kit from APH, you got the Geometro kit. I don't know how well you can see that, but it allows you to build a 3D, any kind of 3D objects. This would be perfect for you guys to use to build. That's one option. If you did not get the kit, don't worry about it. If you're watching this as a recording, this kit is not necessarily for you to do this activity, but it's a great tool to use if you do have it. So we want you to build a tent using any kind of items you have around your house. That may include toothpicks, marshmallows, popsicle sticks, Legos. Some of you boys and girls may have Legos. Legos are a perfect way to build anything. The thing we want you to think about what parts a tent has. It needs a bottom, it needs sides, it also needs a top to keep any kind of wind, rain, anything off of you. You may want to put a little door. You guys can get as creative as you like with this, but I want to remind you about something. We never expect your work to be perfect. We are okay if you make a mistake. If you're starting to make your tent and something goes wrong, you know what? It's okay. Just stop, take a deep breath, and then you can start back on it. If you need help, that is okay again. Remember, you can ask for help. Just make sure that whoever is helping you is not taking over and building it for you. We don't want to see what somebody else can do. We want you guys to use your hands and your brain and become little engineers and make a tent.
Now you may surprise us and make a tent big enough to fit your whole body inside. And that's fine. If you have space in your living room and you want to use blankets and make that works. But we just want to challenge you to make a model of a tent. So actually, if you have a favorite doll, or like a doll for a size of a doll house, that you could put in your tent, or just like a toy car to see what can fit in there, you can make a small scaled down tent so that we can just see an example of that structure.
Thank you, Ranger Annie, for clarifying that. It can be as small as you want it to be. It can be as large as you want it to be. It doesn't have to be big enough to hold anything. And we do not want you to feel like you need to go out and get anything extra. Look around your house, talk to your adults, just find anything. This is all about being creative and using your engineering skills. Once again, if you're able to upload a video to Flipgrid, we definitely encourage you to. Today's would be under day 3, and it would be building a tent. We would love to see your videos. If you do not feel comfortable doing a video, or if you're not able to, feel free to share your pictures if you're able to do that. And I am so excited to see what kind of tents you guys build. Thank you guys so much for being here on day 3. Tomorrow, we're going to come back and learn even more. We have had a great time with you guys today.
See you next time.
Thank you so much, Ranger Annie and Ranger Carrie. We had great fun. Okay, be ready for your extension activity to come in writing to your inbox. And we can't wait to see you tomorrow. Have a great time.
Bye.